Good evening and welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We are witnessing historic truth and transparency at this White House. It's quite awesome to cover what is called Trump speed, right? Pedal to the metal for our country. The majority of the nation, we the people, absolutely love what's happening from the White House. It's helping out in so many ways throughout our country. And the interesting thing is President Trump says he's just getting started.
This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. And week by week, we're ending illegal immigration. We're taking back our jobs and protecting our great American auto workers and all of our workers, frankly.
President Trump speaking to a packed house in Warren, Michigan yesterday. It's great to see common sense being restored in our country. Before we move on, let's talk about a few sponsors of this broadcast. Colonial Metals Group. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You'll get a free info kit in the mail, all about gold and silver, the backup to the U.S. dollar, but also this is for a 401k, a tax-sheltered IRA, all backed in gold, 100% tax-free. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Also, Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415 is the number. If you're looking to settle any back taxes, this is a great patriotic group right there. Tax Network USA, great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, let's shift gears and let's go to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, specifically the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, where I interviewed a number of White House officials. Well, this is the first 100 days of success right here, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Right Side Broadcasting Network, on the grounds of the White House. Of course, it's a historic time to cover the president. We're so thankful for all of you viewers that have been watching this coverage as we look at those accomplishments that we've seen, the promises made, the promises kept by President Trump. First of all, thank you for what you're doing for our country in the sense of the southern border. And I know the American people want the southern border closed. We see that it is closed at this point. But we see also that there's these Army military vehicles and patrols down there. It's a good thing.
Yes, it is. We have about 10,000, a few more actually, DOD troops assigned to stand side by side with the Border Patrol, doing all kinds of things, reinforcing border wall and border infrastructure, providing better access, giving us sensors, and having people deployed on behalf of the mission to protect the border.
That's awesome. And then out in San Diego, outside of Point Loma, it looks like the U.S. Coast Guard and the Navy's involved. I mean, usually you think of now Army, Marines, Customs, Border Protection, but it seems like everybody's down there.
Yeah, the entirety of the U.S. government, and it's not just our partners in DOD, the Department of Justice, the Department of State, Health and Human Services, all of the agencies that touch migration flows, illegal activity, cartel activity, drug smuggling into the U.S., they're all participating. We know that the cartels have, terrific capabilities in Mexico, and the border, as you said, is in really good shape as it relates to illegal crossings. And so we know that the cartels are going to look for other ways to ply their trade in the United States. So tunnels, drones, and then the coastlines off of California, Brownsville, Texas, and even in the Caribbean.
You just talked about drones. Are you saying that they're using drones to bring in narcotics?
They do all kinds of things, right? You think about a cartel as a business that has no rules, no shareholders to be responsible to. All they do is make money and provide influence over, corrupt governments, et cetera. And so they use all kinds of things to get their product into the United States, including drones. Drones are also used for counter surveillance against our agents on the front line. And then they're doing all kinds of things to bring things into the U.S. And just try to get ahead of us operationally. And so having counter drone capability in the U.S. And then understanding what they're doing in real time that's the phase 2 of implementation of securing the border.
We'll continue to talk about the southern border in a second, but let's shift to the northern border. I didn't know that there are drug cartel operating in Canada. Is that something that how did we confirm something like that?
Well, there's organized crime in Mexico that we all know about. We know about the cartels. Some of them now are designated as terrorist organizations, but Canada suffers in the same way, right? They've had a mafia problem, just like the United States did for many, many years. There are other gangs, organized crime that are in Canada. I think the most prolific one near where I worked in Swanton, Vermont, was the Hells Angels, the motorcycle gang. And so proceeds from drug sales in the U.S. going back into Canada, hydroponic marijuana being smuggled into Canada, cigarettes. These cartels, these criminal organizations, they're going to make money whatever way they can, and sometimes they exploit control at the border to sell products in the U.S.
I want to ask you about the Vermont sector in just a second, but let's shift over to fentanyl. Is that something that is only coming through the southern border and then some of the waterways, or is it also the northern border?
Okay, the challenges are on the southern border and the northern border aren't different. There's a real difference in volume, but we see it all. We see marijuana, fentanyl, ecstasy, all the other kind of things. And then human trafficking is a big concern from both borders as well. And so a really strong relationship with the governments, especially Canada, is important for us to succeed, not only protecting our country, but understanding the threats on their side of the line as well.
Let's talk about Vermont a little bit. It's surprising to see that there were people, and there are people, trying to cross even in that area of Canada to Vermont.
So you had the last 4 years of the Biden administration where the controls post-arrest, there were no consequences for coming into the country illegally under Joe Biden. And so the southern border was obviously being exploited by the cartels and individual human traffickers. The northern border wasn't different. The volume went way up. When the policy encourages people to come, you're going to have more. And so the Canadian border was a concern, is a concern. And like I said, it's the same, just a difference in volume. And so being able to monitor, being able to share information and intelligence with law enforcement authorities, and then having a regular systematic way to patrol and understand is key to keeping the country safe.
Local, state, county, federal. I mean, it seems like there's a huge team of people that are working together, law enforcement and the federal government.
Yeah, so this is what winning looks like, right? We can all recall on election night the map that we showed, like all the red counties, right? So all that state and local enthusiasm in the voter base for President Trump is now reflected in the people that they elected for sheriff and local representation. And so, yeah, it's important for the DHS family of law enforcement frontline to coordinate with state and local communities to understand what their challenges are and help them where we can. And you think about like this city just outside of Denver, Aurora, Colorado. You know, they didn't have a lot of help when they were Train to Arago was going crazy in that community, but now they do. Now ICE is fully tuned into that problem with help from DEA, and obviously the sheriff's office and the local police departments now can lean in and help eradicate that problem from the U.S.
It's pretty awesome. I've interviewed some of the sheriffs, and the fact that the county has an involvement with something that is a national issue is pretty intense. You know, these guys, this is what they got paid to do, and they're enforcing the law with law and order. I don't want to shift over to the 100-day mark for President Trump coming up here. Obviously, now it's the 100-day mark as this airs, but my question to you is your thoughts about President Trump and Border Czar Tom Homan and how awesome of a job they've been doing for everyday America, really to bring that safety home.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. The leadership of the department with Kristi Noem, folks like Tom Homan and Donald Trump in the White House, who we knew when he got elected the first time, and it's obviously evident in his re-election that we're going to secure the border, and he's going to give the tools to the front line that knows how to get this problem solved, and then all the authorities and the layered implementation of what's going on at the border now has led to amazing results. With the lowest March on record and the number of encounters by CBP between the ports of entry than we've ever seen before. That work continues. The border is much less active with illegal crossings than it's been, but there is a lot to do, right? So Trump has put a marker down. He's given the front line the tools that they need. Now Congress needs to come in and backstop the policy choices that he's made and provide resources so that we can scale up some of the things that still need to occur for us to solidify and make America safe again.
And final question, all the experience you have in law enforcement and border protection, did you ever think that you'd be in a position like this that's really helping the American people every day of your life?
I actually thought about it for a while when I knew the president was going to win re-election. I prayed for an opportunity to go back and help. And now those prayers were answered, not only for me, but for generations to come, because we're doing things on the border that have never been done before, and the sustainability over the long term is going to be good for generations in this country.
Sir, thank you again for what you're doing for our country.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
right, there you go. Live here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, 7:09. Thank you so much for joining us for this White House special report. Now, the Department of Homeland Security says that the Trump administration has arrested more than 158,000 illegal aliens, including more than 600 from TDA, that Tren Aragua. Also, we're told 75% of ICE arrests are criminal illegal aliens. That statistic from the Department of Homeland Security. Let's pivot now to some breaking news, as we're just seeing that the United States and Ukraine have signed a rare mineral natural resources deal. That's some great progress, of course. If you remember, President Trump at the Vatican just the other day, meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, obviously there for Pope Francis's funeral, but also maybe the words spoken during that great deal there, that negotiation process, is really what sparked today's news. And we're also hearing from the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who actually just posted a message not too long ago. Here it is.
Efforts to secure a lasting peace, I am glad to announce the signing of today's historic economic partnership agreement between the United States and Ukraine, establishing the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This partnership allows the United States to invest alongside Ukraine to unlock Ukraine's growth assets, mobilize American talent, capital, and governance standards that will improve Ukraine's investment climate and accelerate Ukraine's economic recovery. The Development Finance Corporation will participate and help to establish this fund in collaboration with the government of Ukraine. Today's agreement signals clearly to Russian leadership that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. It's time for this cruel and senseless war to end. The killing must stop, and both the United States and the government of Ukraine look forward to quickly operationalizing this historic economic partnership for both the Ukrainian and American people.
Again, breaking news tonight there from Mr. Bessent, that the United States and Ukraine have signed a rare minerals earth deal, natural resources deal as well. So that news just coming into the newsroom just within the hour here at Right Side. Also, let's shift over to historic truth and transparency on display in the Trump administration. As you guys saw, most of you probably watched it today, the cabinet meeting was not just questions and answers from the reporters to the president, which still is must-watch TV. It was also the actual cabinet meeting on display for the entire press, for the entire world, for the entire country to see exactly what's happening in each department. If you missed any of that coverage, we do have a replay of that right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So that historic truth and transparency, quite awesome to see it. And we're seeing that happen time and time again. We actually have a clip from earlier today. The Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, actually had some great things to say about President Trump. Here's that video.
First. So, President Trump, in your first term, when I had a chance to work with you as governor, you were courageous. The thing that's empowering this amazing group of people around this table, and you've probably assembled the greatest cabinet ever, is that this time you're not just courageous, you're actually fearless. And it's your fearlessness to take on the issues that other presidents would not touch, whether it's the work that we're doing with successfully streamlining and right-sizing government, or whether it's taking on the issues at the border, or whether it's embracing the power we need to win the aliens race. You're fearlessly doing that, and that creates and just all of us can sprint because you're running ahead. So thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And you are.
So if you want to see a government of, by, and for the people of the United States of America, from that speech, remember Abraham Lincoln in the Gettysburg Address, a government of, by, and for the people. That's exactly what we're seeing with this president and this cabinet. This is an all-star cast of patriots. These are the people that are putting everything on the line, their entire life on the line, to serve the American people, day in and day out, all out for the US of A. This is why We all voted for this great president. We saw how great it was under that first administration. We saw what he went through over the past 4 years. If he was a fake or a fraud, he would have left real quick. But he's not. He stood there for us, we the people. He stood there for the Constitution. He stood there for freedom. And there he is at the White House and making deals, as you just heard just minutes ago, that Ukraine and the United States have signed a deal, a rare minerals deal. This is another step to progress to that peace between Ukraine and Russia. And of course, there are a number of people, delegates of the United States speaking with Putin as well for the killing to stop. It's simple as that. This is all common sense. This is a common sense White House, a common sense move toward the future. And that is the key to success to make America great again. As you guys know, and you've heard these speeches from President Trump, and we're going to get to some more of that from last night. If you missed the War in Michigan speech, what an awesome, awesome speech it was, with a great, great amount of people there. Of course, Michigan going to President Trump, not only this past election, the election prior to that, and even prior to that. But at the end of the day, a lot of wins for this administration, accomplishments every day by this president. And we're also watching all sorts of news that's happening within the Beltway, outside the Beltway. You can come to count on us right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we move forward and expand our coverage here at the network. A couple sponsors to tell you about, of course. Let's go to patriotaddictdeals.com. Great sponsor right there. You can see this is part of the Trump combat knife. You can get yours with 30% off by using that RSBN 30 promo code. You can use the QR code as well. So grab your Trump combat knife today. You see it right there on your screen. A great sponsor of this broadcast and a great patriotic group right there at patriotaddictdeals.com. Let's move over to Spring, Texas, angelpace.com, RSBN. Using that code will get you a long way for a lot of these products, including Angel Pace right there. They hire military veterans. They have a great product, the Miracle Cream. There's other products on there as well. So angelpace.com, use that RSBN promo code and go ahead and purchase as many goods as you can that support our network. We support them. And here we are sharing that with you, the American people. So another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's shift now to something that's actually happening tomorrow at the Rose Garden at the White House. It's the National Day of Prayer. We're going to have live coverage here tomorrow morning for it. But also, we're looking forward to some other coverage tomorrow as well. We'll get to the University of Alabama commencement speech, which is going to be quite awesome. Our other host, RSBN host, Robert McNeely, on his way to Tuscaloosa. We're going to have a crew there for that commencement speech tomorrow. So there'll be a lot of coverage happening right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Before we go to the director of the White House Faith Office, Jenny Korn, it's pretty awesome to see it. And I know you guys have seen it. People that pray, people of faith, people of the Jewish faith, people of the Christian faith, people that believe in the Holy Bible. If you don't believe in any of that, at the end of the day, what we're looking for in this country is freedom, conservatism, and it's great to see that we have a president that believes and thanks and prays to God, worships God, and realizes there's someone else up there that's much bigger than anything down here. But the thing that's great about God is the fact that he wants to have a connection with us through Jesus. So it's pretty awesome to see that. But it's great that there's this White House Faith Office. There's one word that I want to sum up this White House right now. It's called unprecedented. You hear that word unprecedented in the media a lot. This is an unprecedented storm, or that's an unprecedented thing that happened. This entire White House, President Trump is unprecedented. There's no one that has done the great things that he has done outside of the greats like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and others, Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, and on. But this is the time that we're living in right now. This historic time is quite interesting, because do we really realize what we have going on in our country right now? I know many of us do, but I remember talking to a buddy a couple weeks ago. He says, I hope the American people understand that this is really history in the making. Every day is history in the making. I mean, even today at the cabinet meeting, that was literally historic. When is the last time a president said, okay, we're going to have the cameras here, not only for a question and answer session, but an entire cabinet meeting? That was a high-level governmental meeting that we were able to see. So when we say historic truth and transparency, we definitely mean it. Let's go now to Jenny Korn. She is the director of the White House Faith Office there at the White House.
How awesome is it to have that title?
It's pretty amazing. When I say that I'm the director of the White House Faith Office, I almost can't believe it myself. It's such an honor to work for President Trump in the White House for America, representing faith and something that's so important and at the core of our country. And the fact that we get to protect it and bring it back and tell people that they have a voice in government it's an honor, and I love what I do every day.
It's something that President Trump said on January 20th, that he's not going to forget the Constitution, not going to forget the country, and won't forget our God. How awesome is that?
It is awesome. I mean, we can't forget the majority of Americans who have faith. And for too long, the government has discriminated against people of faith with government programs at the cost of wokeism and DEI, not just saying we're adding that to push faith aside. And so now we can let people know that all people of faith have a voice in their government at the highest levels. People like to scream, oh, separation of church and state. What separation of church and state means is that the government can't dictate to you what religion you can be, like the Church of England. So it doesn't mean that people of faith don't have a voice in their government. So we got a welcome mat at this White House for people of faith. All faiths.
And sticking with the Constitution, the freedom of religion.
Right. Freedom of religion, not from religion. You can all day long not be part of faith, but don't take faith out of everything. You're basically eliminating people of faith like you would any other kind of interest group.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit about your faith journey and getting to this point. I mean, that's a lot of providence in a way, no?
Right. Well, it's funny because my base, when I was 5 years old is when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. My dad and mom would take me to Sunday school, and it was such a joy. And I just, as an early age, was a very faithful person. Now, of course, I've gone through many different journeys. My husband was in the Marine Corps. That will test you. That will test your faith and other things in life that happen. But my background is running campaigns, working on policy, working in government for 20 plus years. And then in the first Trump administration, I'm one of 15 that lasted from the first day to the last day. Very proud of that. I have the bruises to prove it. One of the communities that I oversaw was the faith community, but I oversaw the Hispanic community, veterans, law enforcement, farmers, you name it. But the faith community really hit my heart. And so once we left, or kicked out of the White House last time, I went to Pastor Paula White, who is President Trump's pastor, and I said, we can't let go of this amazing faith coalition we built. So we continued on the outside, then went to President Trump about a year ago and said, what do you think about putting this faith office into place? And he made his mark. He loved it, but made his mark. It's something he wanted to do anyway. And he elevated faith to the highest level. There has never been a White House faith office in the West Wing before, reporting to the president and working with the policy shop.
It's so awesome to think about. Can you talk to us also just about the fact that we're moving forward with God at the top of this?
Right.
Isn't that awesome? It's at the top.
Right. It's important. This is what our country was founded on. This is the true beliefs that we hold very dear, and it dictates all of our life. If you look at faith-based programs, they're 80% plus success rate, whether it's feeding the poor, feeding the hungry, clothing the poor, helping homelessness, substance abuse, prisoner reentry. The testimony of people who have come to God and been able to overcome so many things. So why wouldn't the government partner with 80% success? I think that's really important.
Exactly. Now let's talk about some of the discrimination against the Christian faith and also in Judaism. I saw a Jewish person trying to walk on the Yale campus recently, and there was a line of people, Hamas supporters and others, just holding it down there. What's the stance when we see that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, I think that's just disgusting. My mom was Roman Catholic, born in Mexico. My dad is Jewish, Polish, born in Brooklyn. So I had this amazing, diverse background of being able to see faiths at an early age, and to see in 2025, even during COVID, that Jewish students didn't have the freedom to walk on campus without fear. There's been violence against them, they've been spat at, they've been called horrible names, and for campuses to allow that in America is just unacceptable. And you see President Trump is saying it's unacceptable. We're going to pull your funding if you're going to be anti-Semitic, which is what they're doing. And in the White House Faith Office, one of our tenets is to work with these task forces on anti-Christian bias, anti-Semitic bias, and anti-any other religious bias. People of all faiths need to know that they can practice their faith in this country freely.
Exactly. Great point. I mean, at the end of the day, we're also looking at the DOJ task force efforts to eradicate anti-Christian bias. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. So as the White House Faith Office, we were part of that meeting with Attorney General Bondi at the Department of Justice. What an impactful day, like probably one of the most impactful days we've had in this less than almost 100 days. We had Marco Rubio there. We had Secretary Hegseth there. We had the VA Secretary. I mean, you name it, Kristi Noem, the Labor Department Secretary. They are all looking in their departments for anti-Christian bias. The sad thing is they're finding it really easy. Secretary Marco Rubio put out an email within 1 week. He had over 150 different submissions of how the federal government has discriminated against Christians in the State Department. That's one department. We had 3 witnesses that we had there. One was Liberty University, one was from a church, and one was a Navy SEAL, all talking about the anti-Christian bias that they encountered by their own government. And so how do you eradicate anti-Christian bias? You find it first, and then you eradicate it. And so that's what. But it's a department wide, and so imagine that the federal government was weaponized to go after Christians.
It's unfortunately happening in other parts of the world. We don't want to ever see that happen here, of course. What would you like to say to the millions of Americans that watch Right Side Broadcasting Network through a lot of rallies and a lot of events? What would you like to say to the American people that are saying, "Amen, Jenny"?
Well, we want your prayers. Thank you for your prayers. I say God bless them for always standing with us and just letting them know that they have a voice here at the White House. Please call us if you want to be part of what we're doing. We're going to start doing newsletters, and we're going to start doing monthly conference calls so we can truly, get the information directly to them. But just know that President Trump and this White House and the newly created and historic White House Faith Office is on their side, and we are going to make sure we're representing them well.
Have you been in the Oval Office when President Trump has been prayed for? Have you prayed for President Trump? What's that experience like?
Right. Yes, I have, and it's amazing. And it's not the first time in this administration. In the last administration, I was telling you I'm one of 15 to last from the first day to the last day. We prayed all the time. We prayed in the Oval, in the Roosevelt Room, in the East Room, here in the EEOB. It was a normal thing when the cameras were on or off. You start meetings with prayer. And then when we had the signing of the executive order to create the White House Faith Office, we all surround him. There's a picture, if you go on our website, of myself on one side and Pastor Paula White, his senior advisor, on the other, with 32 other faith leaders. And we all prayed for him and thanked him for creating this office, and prayed over the office, prayed over him. But it almost is unbelievable to think that this little girl from East LA, who had no political background, no money background, could be in the Oval Office praying with President Trump. What an amazing country we have, and the American dream is alive and well.
It is, amen. Just the other week, Margot Martin was recording Carolyn Levitt when she prayed before she went out to that press briefing. What an awesome moment that was.
Right, and I think people should also know that the White House is filled with staff who are people of faith. Like, they are professionals in their own right, whether it's in policy, whether it's in security, national security, but there are so many people of different faiths, and we all come together and pray, and it is really awesome. What's ground us, and we know that there's something bigger than ourselves, and we try to work very hard for the American people, but the prayer is our foundation.
Jenny, thank you so much.
This White House really reflects we the people. I mean, the majority of this country that voted for President Trump, conservative, common sense, people of faith, this White House is awesome. It's really great to be able to cover something that is so different from what we just saw over the past 4 years, and not connected to anything establishment. President Trump being an outsider, not connected to any of that. Again, if he was connected to any of that, he would have bailed out long time ago, especially over the past 4 years, all what he had to go through. But to think that he went through all of that because of freedom, to defend it for us, we the people, it's mind-boggling to understand that we have that kind of enemy trying to tear down this country. But at the end of the day, wanting peace through strength, wanting unity, wanting freedom, wanting the basics of our existence here on earth. And we get that through common sense policies, America First policies, great foreign policy. We already spoke about the Ukraine-United States mineral deal. that was signed just recently. Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, talking about that on X. If you missed any of the beginning of our broadcast, there's a little bit of news that we've been following here, of course, at the network. But it's been quite awesome to follow each and every day that White House right there, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So what you're seeing right now, obviously, is the White House. To the right, or the vantage point to the right of the White House there is the Eisenhower Executive Office building. So that's where we went, my photographer and I. We interviewed a number of these White House officials. We have a few more to go here for you as we monitor any developing or breaking news stories, and a number of great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network as well. Speaking of RSBN, tomorrow, a couple programming notes for you. At 11 a.m., the White House will have a National Day of Prayer event. That starts at 11 a.m. We'll be live at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then later in the day, I think it's called Rally Day in America. We talked about this, calling it in Michigan, it's Rally Day in America. Well, I think there's another rally tomorrow. Let me explain. So President Trump is delivering the commencement address at the University of Alabama tomorrow night. Robert McNeely's on his way. So we're going to be able to do that interview with, various people outside of the venue. A lot of supporters of President Trump in the great state of Alabama. And you think about it, a lot of college kids there, they're happy about graduating. The commander-in-chief's going to be speaking. And I'm really looking forward to hearing a commencement address from President Trump. We've heard all sorts of speeches from the president. I can't remember if I've heard a commencement address. Those are quite fascinating and interesting. And I know President Trump will be encouraging the people there in Alabama tomorrow. So let's call it Rally Day in Alabama. Looking forward to it. You can see all of that coverage right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So we have two events tomorrow live for you. Looking forward to that. Also, looking ahead into May. May 13th through the 16th, the president will be in the Middle East. He'll be going to 3 countries there: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. We'll have coverage of that trip as well. Meantime, President Trump has signed more than 140 executive orders, all for the American people, all common sense, all spot on for us. Everything great to see because it's netting really great gains for us here in this country. But let's stay within this 24/7 news cycle right now and just rewind just a little bit to war in Michigan, as President Trump had a few choice words for any of these woke judges out there.
And also, we cannot allow a handful of communist radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States. Judges are trying to take away the power given to the President to keep our country safe, and it's not a good thing. But I hope, for the sake of our country, that the Supreme Court is going to save this, because we have to do something. These people are just looking to destroy our country. Nothing will stop me in the mission to keep America safe again. It's very simple. Keep America safe.
So what we're seeing here is our government, the United States government, from the executive branch and others that are on Team America First, ridding the corruption from our institutions and our departments. We've seen that with DOJ and HHS, DHS, DOD, and on. It's all about getting any of that junky corruption out of our country so we can have a healthy country, to save our country, to make it great again. That's the only way it's going to happen, is for the corruption to leave. And that's what we have right now. The corruption is out of that White House. And we have a real person there, a real person that cares about what's going on, not just some establishment puppet that, is bought and paid for by bazillions of other things, interests that have nothing to do with the American people. So it's great to see it, and it's great to cover it. So what we're looking at is that divide of good versus evil. We've talked about it a lot. It's preaching to the choir, but at the end of the day, voting, praying hard, working hard, winning the midterm elections in 2026, all of these things, not, sitting back and saying, okay, well, President Trump's in office, we're good. Well, indirectly we are, but we still have to keep working, keep going, keep talking, keep voting, and also making it too big to rig for the midterm elections as well. I mean, this is a big election coming up, I say coming up, acting like it's going to be this year. It's not until next year, November 2026. Speaking of next year, 2026, how about July 4th, the 250th birthday of our great country? Looking forward to that celebration. Looking forward to 249 coming up here on July 4th as well. And now that I'm getting all patriotic about it, why not put President Trump's face on Mount Rushmore? Why not? There's no reason why his face should not be etched into that stone, whether it's to the, if you're looking at Mount Rushmore, if it's to the left of George Washington, to the right of Abraham Lincoln. He's well deserving of it, and it's great to see someone that is doing some of the great things that some of our founding fathers did, and having the support of all types of people in this country. And when I say types, we have differences, big deal. But the point is, a lot of conservatism, that is where we come together. The people that are saying, you know what, I want my freedom, I want law and order, I want safety, I want all of that. And I have that through President Trump. I have that through this all-star cast of cabinet members. We're winning in this country. Isn't it awesome? It feels good to win. So anyway. All right, let's go to Kalshi.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You can see at the bottom of the screen right there, the QR code. There are plenty of things that you can actually bet or trade on if you go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. You can check it out if you'd like. Anything from science to technology to sports to politics, all sorts of things right there, Kalshi.com. Also, free Trump book. You can go to freetrumpbook.com. You can see the picture of Mike Huckabee there, the great U.S. ambassador to Israel. He also has a great show there in Tennessee, the former Arkansas governor. Of course, his daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the great governor of Arkansas as well, writing these great books with his staff. All for the youth of America, but also for really anybody that needs a little bit of a, not reset in the globalist way, but not indoctrinated as much by what we've dealt with a lot of the institutions and education. So you get these kind of books that kind of resets the mind. It's a detox to bring in truth. It's kind of like displacement. Anyway, so freetrumpbook.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go now back to the Eisenhower Executive Office building in just a second. We're going to talk with Bill Pulte. He's the director for the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He's the director there. It was quite awesome to be at the White House this past Thursday. Beautiful sunny skies there. Saw some conservative media colleagues and saw the fake news as well. And, it is what it is. But we do know that we're seeing a lot with the new media press briefings. Quite interesting to see that there are the traditional press briefings, and then there are the new media press briefings that are happening as well. So in those traditional press briefings that you guys watch here at the network, of course, we see a lot of traditional media in there, and then a little sliver of the great conservative media. But now with the amount of people that are applying to the new media situation there with the White House, you're seeing an entire press conference by none other than Carolyn Leavitt there, doing a great job not only in the traditional press briefing, but also in the new media press briefing. And I have to highlight again that she and her team pray right before they step out there. And isn't it great to speak so freely about faith or about, hey, we support the Constitution? Wow. You just don't hear that on the mainstream media. But we're really glad that you're here with us in conservative media. Let's go back to the Eisenhower Executive Office building adjacent to the White House. Bill Pulte, he's the director for the Federal Housing Finance Agency. Take a look.
You once said safe and sound housing markets are the foundation of American ownership. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, we got to restore the American dream back in this country. For the last 4 years under President Biden, nobody could afford a home. I mean, not nobody, but a lot of people could not. We need to restore the American dream in this country. We're going to do it. I feel very confident that we're setting everything up to make sure that the next 4 years are going to be very prosperous, and we have a great president, President Trump. So hopefully we can get the cost of home ownership to be affordable finally, like it was in the first term after the last disastrous 4 years of Biden.
Exactly. So we're seeing prices starting to go down. Everybody's happy about that. Can you talk to us about the housing market a little bit right now within the country?
Yeah, I think the housing market is getting situated again for hopefully becoming more affordable. You know, you've seen inflation has just been totally out of control the last 4 years. You know, you had Biden who you almost had to accept the fact that inflation was out of control, that mortgage rates were out of control. And President Trump is like, no, you know, we need to get inflation under control. We need to do these things with tariffs. I feel very confident that we have the right guy in charge with President Trump. He is going to turn this around, and we need somebody like him who can get inflation under control, because it's killed everything from groceries to housing to you name it.
Exactly. So now that we're 100 days into his second administration, the next 100 days is only going to be even better, probably, right?
I believe so. I think we're doing everything that we can to lower what has been just totally destroyed by Biden the last 4 years. We're getting rid of bureaucracy. We're getting rid of the paperwork. We're getting rid of the excess waste, fraud, and abuse. We're getting people at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which I oversee, back into the office. I mean, imagine that. We have 16,000 employees at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. That's a lot of people. We oversee 70% of the U.S. mortgage market. We need to get costs down and get people back into homes, and not just accept, like we did under Biden, that, you know, nobody can afford a home anymore. That's crazy.
Can you talk to us a little bit about consumer confidence as we see this great president who did great in his first administration? We're seeing the prices go down. The confidence has to be going up at this point now.
People have confidence in President Trump. They're going to have more confidence in the American economy the more that President Trump gets control of everything. I mean, it's crazy what's gone on in the last 4 years. Finally, eggs are under control. Grocery prices are under control. I think you're going to see housing become affordable again in the next 4 years. And, you know, President Trump, in the first term, people could afford a home. But for the last 4 years, nobody felt like they could afford a home. And we're doing everything we can, and I feel very confident that the U.S. housing market will boom again.
And that's what people are looking to see. A lot of people want to be able to afford that coming up. So anything else you'd like to add within what you're doing at the federal government?
Well, we're very focused on getting rid of mortgage fraud, getting rid of mortgage fraud even that has to do with insurance fraud. I mean, people are, in many ways, in my opinion, gaming the system, and we need to put a stop to that. So part of the way is we're going to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. We're working very hard on that right now. We're going to continue to do that. And everybody should have the opportunity to have a home in America, not just the wealthy, and people shouldn't just have to rent in this country. People who work hard, who show up for work, who do a good job. In President Trump's America, I feel very confident we're going to restore the American dream.
And a big, beautiful bill would help, too.
I think we're going to see not only the economy do better, but I think that once people earn more, inflation is down, people can afford to pay their bills. I mean, have you looked at some of the statistics with how much people are having to pay for rent and for their mortgage and stuff like that? People can't afford this kind of stuff. It's got to stop, and I'm very confident under President Trump it will stop.
Awesome. Bill, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Wait.
All right, so looking live there at the White House, of course, a beautiful night there on this Wednesday, April 30th, 7:42 Eastern time. Man, oh man, this has been quite awesome to cover Trump speed, right? He's operating at Trump speed. It's pedal to the metal. It's this historic truth and transparency. This is a dream for any journalist that would be on the right side of history, conservative media, podcaster, influencer, anybody that's speaking truth out there and going against the false narrative of the lying, lamestream, bogus, corrupt mainstream media who's been lying to the American people for decades and decades. Isn't it great to have conservative media? And isn't it awesome? Right Side Broadcasting Network, since 2015, showing the crowds, showing President Trump's speeches, has grown into a network where, I mentioned this earlier, Robert McNeely was on Air Force One just the other day. We had the opportunity, of course, to go to the White House complex there and interview a number of White House officials. I mean, these are the kind of things that don't just happen. This happened because of the great decision by Joe Seals, our founder, to just use common sense and say, hey, let's show the crowd, let's show the entire speech and not censor what's really happening out there. So really cool to be a part of that kind of history as a journalist. Here going on about 20 years as a journalist, and being on the right side of history is so much better than the left side of history. All right, let's go to a number of great posts by some of the cabinet members there at the White House. We saw all of them at the cabinet meeting earlier. Before we go there, let's go to a couple sponsors. Colonial Metals Group. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website to go to. You can also go to that QR code right there and get all the information you need on tax-sheltered IRAs, 401ks, gold and silver being a backup to the dollar, even as Maganomics increases, even as our dollar hopefully will continue to rise in value, still having this as a great backup plan for your retirement, your savings. Go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Also, Tax Network USA, 800-357-1415. If you're looking to settle some back taxes, this patriotic group has you covered. Hopefully someday there is no IRS. We'll see, but we still have to pay our taxes, of course. TNUSA.com/RSBN, 800-357-1415 is the number for that great sponsor and great company right there, Tax Network USA. The Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, is a bad you-know-what. She's doing a great job. Let's go to a video that she posted about a lot of these criminal illegal aliens. This is something you're not going to see on the lamestream media. Take a look.
America's laws, border, and families will be protected. These are just some of the heinous migrant criminals caught because of President Donald J. Trump's leadership. If you are here illegally, you're next. President Trump has a clear message for those that are in our country illegally. Leave now. If you don't, we will find you and we will deport you. You will never return.
All right, so let's shift from the Department of Homeland Security to the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Agriculture, where RFK Jr. and Brooke Rollins, both rock stars again for the conservative movement, for the freedom movement. They also put out a video. We'll get to that in just a minute. We're also going to go back to Warren, Michigan, where President Trump had a great speech just yesterday talking about the southern border and talking about our country having borders. We'll get to that in just a second as well. But coming up, we'll be returning to the historic Truth and Transparency, where the White House Deputy Comms Director, Kaylin Dorr, took some time with us. We'll have that interview coming up as well. So let's start at the top. Let's go to RFK Jr. and Brooke Rollins. They posted this pretty recently. Take a look.
I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS Secretary, and we're here in Hillsborough, Texas, the Swear Farm. And I'm here with my colleague, my partner, my friend, Brooke Rollins, who's the Secretary of Agriculture. We've been working together very, very closely from day one of our appointments, because we recognize if we're going to make America healthy again, we have to have a partner with agriculture in this country. We cannot produce food for our country, high-quality food, making sure that our farms is sustainable and that the quality and nutrition that's coming out of these farms is serving the interests, the health interests of everybody in our country. And Brooke has been an incredible partner. I'm very grateful for your commitment to help America.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And listen, we have had a great day in Texas. I think our partnership is unprecedented. I don't know that ever before in any administration, Republican or Democrat, that the Health Secretary and the Agriculture Secretary have really gone hand in glove together. But President Trump has given us a mandate, and that is to make America healthy again. You can't make America great again without making sure that we're driving toward better health outcomes. And the secret, maybe the non-secret, but the most important driver of that is agriculture and nutritious, safe, secure food. And then the next step, of course, food security is national security. So being here on a great family farm in Texas was a real honor to have you in Texas, Bobby, to work alongside these incredible farmers all day, every day, to ensure that they have a path forward of prosperity and real success as we again work toward these mutual goals.
And a shout out to all of our farmers out there. Thank you for what you do. We see great people in office to help you do what you do for this country, but also making America healthy again. So seeing that with RFK Jr., Brooke Rollins at the Department of Agriculture, and all of the other cabinet members doing a great job. We see it here. We the people are watching. They're watching conservative media, and they're watching on social media. And it's great to have good, positive messaging, but it's actually true. You know, a lot of times the other side may be able to sound like it's positive messaging, but it's a crock. It's lying. It's false. It's not true. But thank God that we have someone that we resonate with in President Trump and this team at the White House. So let's return to Michigan quickly. Speaking of President Trump, speaking last night in Warren, Michigan. Check it out.
After years of leaders who sent your money to defend the borders of distant foreign nations, that's what we did. We'd fight for other nations, but not for ourselves. You finally have a president who is defending our borders and our nation. After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first. After a lifetime of unelected bureaucrats stealing your paychecks, attacking your values, and trampling your freedoms, we are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip, and telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here. In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change.
So if you missed any of that speech, obviously you can watch it right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And as I was listening to the speech and hearing the crowd roar and chant and yell and all that, it reminded me of just being at the Washington Capitals playoff game the other day in D.C. when we were on that trip there to interview a number of these White House officials, these great people helping our country in so many ways. And when the Caps won the game against the Canadians, you know, it's pretty loud in there. It's pretty exciting. But I've covered a number of these rallies, as have, you know, Robert McNeely and others at the network. And the decibel level is about the same. It's crazy to think about that this is politics. But you know what it is? It's more than politics. It's our way of life. It's our freedoms. It's everything that we are living for in this country, to be able to have the freedom to live here, to speak how we want to speak. Obviously nothing criminal or anything like that, but to be able to have that freedom and to be able to work and be able to provide for our families and not have a concern about a leftist government trying to silence us, censor us, use a social credit score on us, that kind of stuff. So it's worth cheering about. And speaking of that, I can't say it without saying this. Cheering to God in a way, praising God for what he has done for this country and all the blessings that we do have. You know, I think about when I traveled to other countries during some Christian mission trips earlier in my life. I always thought in these other countries that were third world nations that they wouldn't be as happy, or they wouldn't have a lot of food, or they'd be starving. It'd be terrible, right? Well, I went to some of the poorest countries in the world. And what I found was that they were smiling from ear to ear, that they had each other, they were happy. And my point is, the free world is cheering on people like President Trump, Nigel Farage, Jair Bolsonaro, Viktor Orban. This whole network is based around that one thing, freedom for the people, but also about President Trump, because he's the one that is the outsider that has stood up and said, I'm here, I'm going to work this for you guys. I believe in God. He's bigger than I am. Let's get this done for our country. And that's why we saw what we've seen over the past several years with President Trump and all that support that we've seen for him. So it's pretty awesome to cover it here in Alabama. Speaking of Alabama, tomorrow again, the University of Alabama, President Trump will be having a commencement address, sharing a commencement address with the students there. We'll have live coverage there as well. On top of that, we'll have the National Day of Prayer event in the morning. So we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. There's still more to go here at Right Side Broadcasting Network for this broadcast. Before we get to that, let's thank a few sponsors, including Trump Knife, where Patriotic Deals, of course, is a great website, has a lot of great products on it. You see the knife right there. So visit 47knife.com to get yours. You can use the RSBN promo code, 30% off. Also, speaking of RSBN and a promo code, you can use that as well when you enter in for angelpaste.com. A lot of products on there from Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans at that company. They have a great product. Go ahead and check it out, angelpaste.com. All right, let's pivot now to our last interview of this White House special. First of all, quite awesome to be able to go to the White House on behalf of Right Side Broadcasting Network. Makes me think of Robert McNeely, how he went on the Air Force One just the other day. Quite awesome to be able to cover this from a conservative perspective that resonates with we the people and the majority of this country. We went to Washington the other day, spoke to a number of White House officials, including Kalen Dorr. He is the Deputy Comms Director at the White House. Here's that interview.
"100 days of success," it seems as if, right? I mean, it's very, very good stuff going on right now. Your thoughts about what we've seen over the past 100 days?
Oh man, I mean, so what I'm most proud of, or one of the things I'm most proud of, is what we're doing today, right? For the viewers at home, we're here with 10 or 11 alternative media outlets, people who don't normally get attention, you know, maybe from previous occupants of the White House here, and doing this has been something that I'm very proud of. We've opened up the doors. We made this a very transparent operation, and this isn't even the first day we've done this. We've done this 3 days already this week. We've had local radio, podcasters come through. We've done it local TV, like in the Rose Garden. I mean, we have blown it out because it's about darn time, I had to catch myself there, it's about darn time that the federal government meets the American voter where they are, right? It's not incumbent upon them to come begging and pleading for information from the White House. We have enough incredible communicators here, you've interviewed a bunch of them already, who can articulate the president's agenda. We trust them to go out there and do that, and I think it's paid off in spades. You know, it's amazing to me. People are like, oh, like working at the White House must be so difficult, or like doing comms for the president must be tough because you got to spin X, Y, or Z. It's been the easiest job I've ever had, Matt. Honest to God, because in November, the president gave us a honey-do list, and we're just checking things off a box. You know, my wife wishes I would do it at home, but it's been so easy. There's no spin. We're doing exactly what the American people voted for. Secure border, inflation's down, egg prices down. You know, we're just rocking and rolling. DEI is DEAD, and I feel really great about it. I think the American people do too.
It's awesome. Truth, transparency, and common sense is what I'm thinking about. Isn't that what's happening here at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue?
Dude, it's not hard. And that's like the original sin, or one of the greatest things the Democrat Party has ever espoused, is that doing the right thing is difficult. It's not. It's quite simply just having a tiny little ounce of courage and plowing through and playing offense. And, you know, I work on the digital portfolio. We put out all the great social media. We make sure we incorporate, you know, all of your favorite influencers, folks like that, into the coverage and what we're doing. And it is not difficult. Does it require a little bit of extra time? Yes, but it's very important. This truth, transparency, all that what you mentioned is all vital to making sure that the American people know exactly what you're doing for them. But then also we take that feedback too. You know, I've got entire teams on my staff that are dedicated to just grabbing feedback from communities and incorporating that into our communication strategy. Because, hey, if you're not feeling the love, that's on us. It's not on you to come to us for that. That's on us. We'll go to you.
And that's what we're seeing with that transparency of the president's agenda. Now, we've seen a lot of wins over the past 100 days. We're looking forward to another 100 more of great wins. Your thoughts just about the fact that you get an opportunity to be a part of this whole thing called the White House?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I was here for the previous administration, and it was equally as exciting, but I think a lot of us left feeling that there was a lot of meat left on the bone still. And I think what you see here is an administration obsessed with you know, not only getting back to where we were, but then propelling beyond that. And that's what you're going to see over the next 100, 100 days, 3.5 years. I don't know what we're going to do the next 3.5 years. If we're this efficient, who knows what we're going to end up actually accomplishing, right? But it's like a manic obsession with providing tangible quality of life improvements for the American people. And that starts with everything from driving down inflation to reaching peace deals, trade deals, all the above, securing our border, all the things that the American people want and have been asking for. And it's crazy. Now, you didn't ask this question, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So we look at things like the tariff issue, right? So a lot of people, all the opponents of the president's agenda, they keep using the word uncertainty. And it finally clicked one day in my head. This is a true indictment of the political class, that someone who's been saying they're going to do something for 30 years, right? He's been saying, I'm going to put my foot down and make sure that no one takes advantage of the American people any longer. He's been saying that for 30 years, dude. Like, there's footage of him on Oprah in the 90s saying this. If him showing up and actually doing what he said he's going to do is uncertain, then the federal government, the White House has previously, they've really gotten lost in the sauce. They've really lost the message. And I think that ultimately is one of the most important things we can do here, is make sure we remind the American people we are here for you. And the president's been about that for 10 years plus, so it's not beyond the pale.
Yeah, exactly. And we're seeing that even in the new media at the White House when it comes to the press briefing. All of the information is very transparent, very clear. Let's shift over to the southern border really quickly. I mean, a lot of people concerned about that at the beginning. It looks like the concerns are going down.
I mean, there's hardly anything to talk about. I mean, we're getting rid of literal terrorists, and back to some of the things that I work on personally, right? So we put out these memes, and we're out here effectively communicating, the message that we're securing our southern border, and we're getting rid of the worst, right? People who are chopping hands off, people who are fentanyl dealers, people who are murderers, gang members, terrorists. Democrats have fallen into the trap of actually defending these people. It's not a winning message, and I think the American people see right through it, right? The people that voted for us are pragmatic, they're entrepreneurial, they just want to go out there and pursue their version of the American dream. That is very important, right? We're doing all of that while the guys on the other side of the aisle are a little lost in the sauce, drinking margaritas with gang members in El Salvador. It's not a good look.
It is not a good look. At RSBN headquarters, I keep talking about pedal to the metal, and we're seeing that with this administration. Now I'm hearing the phrase, which I really like, Trump speed. We're going and operating at Trump speed. Talk to me about that. That's awesome. It's perfect.
Well, yeah, we're moving quickly because that's how you innovate, that's how you ideate, and that's how you go out there and actually provide value and demonstrate value. And I think that's something that's very important. You talk about Trump speed. You take a look back at the Mexico-Canada tariffs early. A lot of the feedback we saw, especially on social media, he's moving so fast. We don't know what he doesn't know what they're doing. This is crazy. And 72 hours later, we got exactly what we wanted, right? More resources to secure our border, so on and so forth. And for all those people, I guess your viewers are maybe a little smarter. They kind of understand this message I'm about to say, but I just want everyone at home to repeat 3 words, okay? Trust in Trump, or let Trump cook, baby. That's it. He hasn't failed us once. He's got a very long-standing record now. That's what's different from last time, right? A lot of those criticisms were, they're unfounded, but they're believable, right? Because we hadn't done it before. He's got a record now. Trust in Trump. He's going to get it done, man.
Great to speak to some of the White House officials there at the Eisenhower Executive Office building in Washington, D.C., right next to the White House. Awesome to hear, again, that historic truth and transparency coming out of this White House for we the people, for us to understand what's happening, and everything that President Trump said during those campaign promises and those speeches are happening in real time right now. It's quite awesome to cover it. All of this brought to you by a number of sponsors, including PatriotAddictDeals.com, the Trump knife, of course. You see that information right there on your screen. All you have to do is go to PatriotAddictDeals.com. Check it out for yourself. A great sponsor here at Right Side. Also, AngelPaste.com out of Spring, Texas. If you use the RSBN promo code, you'll get quite the percentage off, not only of the Miracle Cream that you see right there, but other products on AngelPaste.com. Again, out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's end the broadcast with yet another great soundbite from President Trump. I mean, at the end of the day, this great leader that we have in this country speaking in Warren, Michigan just yesterday.
So thanks to your help, your love, and your support, after 100 days back in the White House, America is a free, proud, and sovereign nation once more, and our magnificent destiny is closer than ever before. It's closer than ever before. You have no idea how close it is. Our golden age has only just begun. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in. We will never give up. We will never back down. We will never, ever surrender. We will fight, 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 and we will win, win, win. There is nobody smarter or tougher than Stephen Miller. Stephen, say a couple.
Who's enjoying 100 golden days of America? President Trump has achieved the most secure border in American history. He's fighting violent crime. He's fighting the drug cartels. He's cutting your taxes. He's cutting wasteful spending. He's draining the swamp. He's standing up to the radical left. He's standing up to the communists, and he's making America stronger than it's ever been. President Trump will never stop fighting for you, your children, and your family, and President Trump will make sure that in this country, not illegal aliens, not criminals, not gangbangers, but American citizens come first, last, and always. Thank you. And thank you, President Trump, for being the greatest president in American history.
It's quite awesome to hear from people that are dedicated to the cause, dedicated to freedom for our country, dedicated to the Constitution, to President Trump, who has stood there for us, we the people, since 2015 and beyond. So looking forward to covering more of this White House the next 100 days and beyond here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. This all brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. Many things to bet and trade on right there at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Whether it's science, technology, politics, sports, you name it, you can bet on it there on Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, freetrumpbook.com, freetrumpbook.com with Mike Huckabee and the great patriots there writing some awesome books. Go to freetrumpbook.com, get yours today. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
President Trump is keeping his promises and saving America. And your kids can learn all about it for free with a new Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide shows kids all the steps President Trump is taking to put America back on top of the world stage, including building a strong economy, protecting our borders, and negotiating trade deals. It's an exciting way for kids to learn about President Trump's outstanding leadership. Act now and get a free bonus guide, The Courage of the President. Order now at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day and I absolutely love it, and so will you.